They call gold and silver God's money. So if you're thinking of buying precious metals or switching your 401k to gold without a penalty, head on over to thegoldshow.com now. The link is in the description below.
Hello and welcome. Today we've got Joseph L. Patterson, the president of the United Independence Congress. And we are going to be discussing the updates of the court case when Joseph was arrested for not wearing a mask and protesting on the streets. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview, unless, of course, myself and Joseph can choose our words wisely due to the insane censorship that's happening right now. Joseph, thank you for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to?
Thank you, Nicholas. I'm doing quite fine. I'm here today in Kingston. I don't live in Kingston, but I'm here in Kingston for a meeting with all of our candidates. So I'm doing very well, quite upbeat and ready for the challenges ahead.
Fantastic. So how is the court case progressing? What's happened? Is it good news? Is it going in the direction that you would like it to go into?
Sure. So as you might be aware or not aware, I was charged for violating the Public Order Act. I was charged for violating the Disaster Risk Management Act. These acts talks about one, doing a protest without a permit. The other is for not wearing a mask in public. And the other is for having more than 10 persons assembled for an event. So we had a protest march in Kingston in September 22nd, and we had over 500 persons on the streets. And so I was arrested by the police in dramatic fashion. I was also charged for resisting arrest, which is not true. But in any event, since all of that, I have appeared in court now twice to face those charges because we had also done a number of marches in other cities around the country. Prior to that one, we had done about 5 other marches. So they also pinned charges on one other march. In both of those cases, when we went to court, we focused on the fact that they violated our constitutional right. And so now we have turned the case around from them charging me to us charging them that they have actually broken our constitutional rights, which allows us to have freedom of movement, freedom of speech, and of course, freedom of choice when it comes on to the substance that they would like to inject into our bodies, which is what we're protesting. We're protesting the right to choose and not to be forced to take any particular medication, and the right to freedom of movement, to be able to go about our lawful business, to earn an income and take care of our families. And so, and the freedom of assembly and all of that. So in fighting for that, the UIC, which is a pretty fringe political party over the last 5 years or so since we were formed and got registered in 2019. But because we're the only movement in the country standing up for the rights and freedom of the citizens of Jamaica, we have suddenly become possibly the most popular party in the country. The other 2 major opposing parties have joined together and are working together to force the Jamaican people to take this substance. And we're defending the rights of the Jamaican people to choose their medication and not to be subjected to medical apartheid or medical tyranny. And so we're fighting against that vehemently. The good thing is now we have more than 160 applicants for candidacy to represent our political movement in the upcoming local government or municipal elections. And so we're preparing for that. So behind me today, you're seeing people getting ready for a meeting we're going to be having shortly with some of our candidates to prepare them for the electoral process.
So just to confirm, so you've turned it around now, and you're indicting them for breaching the Constitution and our human rights. Can I confirm that you have won the case yet, or is it still ongoing?
It's ongoing. So we have had so far two meetings, two court appearances. The next appearance will be December 14th. And the next appearance after that will be January 12th of 2022. So we are now advancing towards the Supreme Court. Hopefully we'll get a quick hearing from the Supreme Court so we can get a response, a verdict, hopefully in January or February or March. So we're pushing and hoping that the Chief Justice will assemble and allow our charges to be heard early. And so we can have a verdict by the first quarter of 2022.
Sounds very good. Now, there are many people around the world, leaders, who are in a similar position to you, and even people of the general public. They're in this similar position where they're being prosecuted, and they understand our Constitution, and they want to uphold the Constitution, which has a local effect, has a national effect, and a national effect. We can take back power and put power back into the people. Now, can you tell us your strategy, how you did this, and talk to us through the process and what you advise those people who are going through the same thing as you are right now?
Right. I can't speak too much about strategy, but what I can say is what we have done is to, first of all, educate the public to the best of our ability. Now, we're in a very unique position here in Jamaica, because the private sector organization of Jamaica funds the two major political parties. And these are the same private sector individuals who own the media houses. So they have blocked the UIC from being able to do public announcements to the people. They do not do objective journalism. They do not seek to get our input on the national issues. So it's very hard for us to reach the people through the regular mainstream radio and television. So we have had to work tremendously through social media to get to people. But you also know that on social media, there are censorship as well. So you can only say so much. And so what we're doing right now is building our grassroots organization, having persons on the ground in all 14 parishes, all 228 divisions, so they can take our message and speak to people in their communities. So what we're doing is building a strong coalition among the people, uniting all the different groups. So we have the Rastafarians, we have the Muslims, we have the teachers, the nurses, the police officers, we have the Christians, we have, all cross-section of people coming together to fight for one common goal, which is our individual liberty, our personal sovereignty, our right to choose, or right not to be forced to take any medication. So that's our strategy, if you will. And so far, it has allowed us to build more and more support across the country, bringing people together. And so the government has been having a very hard time injecting citizens. So right now, they've only been able to achieve about 12 to 15% of their target. They wanted to have 65% of their target by now. We have managed to keep them at about 15%, 12 to 15% of their target. We're educating people. You must have a choice. And a part of that choice is understanding the substance. What is being put into your body? Understand that there's no long-term data. So you shouldn't just take this lightly because you don't know what the future will hold. Understand that those who are injecting you will not take liability for any consequences to you or your family. Understand that your child doesn't need to take it because they're in a very low vulnerable group. So there's no logic for them to be subjected to all of this. And understand that at the end of the day, if the government has to use force or fraud, censorship, and threatening you with your job losses, then something is wrong. So what the government has been doing is working indirectly through employers to get employers to mandate this injection. And so we now have had to mount a campaign against the employers. We call it the All Are Welcome campaign. And what we have done is to get every company to indicate, are you welcoming everybody to your company? Are you welcoming persons who are juked and persons who are not juked, or injected or uninjected? Are you serving them? And are you not subjecting your employees to threats and victimizations if they refuse to take this injection? And companies who support medical apartheid, those companies were boycotting, and we're encouraging people to boycott those companies. So we have persons going around, they all put up a nice sign. Do I have any? I don't have one here, but a nice sign that says, all are welcome. So our people know if the store says all are welcome on the door and it has our logo and everything, then they go into that store. If it doesn't say that, then we don't shop there. So that's a part of our strategy to get more and more people involved. Fortunately, small businesses and medium-sized businesses are primarily the ones who are in support of the all are welcome. Bigger businesses are in line with the government because they're a part of the funding mechanisms for those political parties.
Right. So the other thing is, with your current case ongoing now, what kind of a precedent do you think it will create for other countries and even in your existing countries going forward?
Yeah, if we win this case, which I think we will, because we have very solid grounds constitutionally for it. Just to put it in context, we have a constitutional monarchy here in Jamaica, whereby we're not truly an independent country, even though we say we are. So the Constitution is not the best in the world. But fortunately, the Bill of Rights does state clearly that it protects our right to freedom of movement, freedom of choice, freedom of association, and so on. And so we have solid grounds on which to stand. If we win this case, or when we win this case, what's going to happen is that the government is now going to have to retract all of what it has done against the people of this country. It will have to stop its process of seeking to inject people against their will, and they will now be liable for all that goes wrong. People who have suffered loss to their businesses, loss in their family, pain and suffering, they will now be liable for all of these. So it's a really big issue should we win this case. And I look forward to us winning it and liberating the people of Jamaica and being an example for other countries around the world to continue to stand up against this kind of tyranny.
So when you win this case, you've just outlined what kind of an effect and liability it will have, into other areas of the breach of the Constitution, if you like. What are your plans after that in respect to other cases, possibly, taking them to court? For an example, nurses who possibly have been fired because of the jab, or, people that have been treated incorrectly and have breached or infringed their human rights. What are you going to do after that to protect your country?
Well, first and foremost, once we win this case, all of those who have been wrong, nurses, teachers, employees of all sorts, all of them will now have a case against the government and against their employers for violating their rights. In fact, currently, their employers are being challenged in the courts as we speak on this, and some employees have been stopped by court injunction to say, no, you have to stop, you can't do this. So we're supporting all Jamaicans across the country in standing up for their rights on these issues and to press charges against their employers and the government for violating their rights. Ultimately, we aim to win the next election at the local level and then go on to winning the general so we can change the Constitution permanently to prevent this from ever happening again. We must ensure that we have a truly free and fair society that allows people to make choices about their lives, about their liberty, about their bodies, about their property rights, without being infringed by any government. So we have to strengthen the Constitution. In fact, we're going to replace the Constitution and make Jamaica a non-partisan constitutional republic.
And are you also aware of any other countries going through the similar situation, court case as you are right now?
Yes, there are a number of other countries. We see the big one in the US, where the president there has tried to mandate the injection, and have been in different ways blocked by their courts, at least temporarily. We see cases in Barbados, we see cases in Trinidad, we're seeing cases in Canada. But I'm very focused on what's happening here in Jamaica, and I stand in solidarity with all peoples around the world who are fighting for their freedom. We must not give up. We must not give in. We must stand strong against all forms of tyranny and protect the sovereignty of the individual.
Well, Joseph L. Patterson, the president of the UIC, thank you very much. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
Sure. I'd like to encourage all of you out there to help us to fund what we're doing here in Jamaica, because we are not the typical political party which gets funding from the private sector, from the big businesses. We depend on individual donations, small donations. So we welcome and encourage everyone around the world to help us to be able to stand up for rights here, so that we can stand up for the rights of all people around the world as well. Together, we're stronger together. The more we support freedom in any country, is the more we promote freedom for all countries.
Thank you very much, President Joseph L. Patterson. Thank you, and we'll speak very soon. God bless you.
My pleasure. Take care and all the best.